Well, to use a 15-year-old internet meme, the number of charges against Donald Trump is now more than 9,000 and growing. And this brings up an interesting question. Hi, everybody. I'm Bill Whittle here with Steve Green and Scott Ott. And guys, the question doesn't particularly apply to Donald Trump. It's a real problem. And the question is this. If the charges against Donald Trump had been brought by the Supreme Court or something, then I would think, well, this is fairly serious. But when you think about the total number of DAs that are in the country and how local and how small they are, we have developed a system now where the smallest player can throw a wrench into the entire operation of the U.S. government. Some judge somewhere can issue a stay against something that's been passed by Congress, and we're just crippled by this until we find out what Ebenezer wants for his release the country from his judicial statements. So that's what I'm really interested in, guys. I think if you want to look at the case of Donald Trump, Steve, I'm in favor of abiding by the law. Obviously, I'd like the presidential candidates to be lawful people, and I'd like that to apply equally to both parties. But one of the things that is the strongest evidence to me of Donald Trump's, if not his innocence, then certainly his lack of, significant guilt, is how far down the ladder you have to go to find a prosecutor willing to press charges. This is a powerful argument, in anything, is what level is your opposition stooping to? If their entire credentials are from a guy who wrote a paper once, when he was in college, it doesn't throw a whole lot of weight. So what do we do about this?
What's interesting here? What is her name? The Fulton County. It's Fulton County.
Fannie
that
Willis.
Atlanta is in, right?
Fannie Willis.
I'm sorry, Penny Willis. Thank you. Corrupt as hell, by the way. I think you've read the thing that she hired her married boyfriend, and she's got to go. There's something known in legal terms as judge shopping. You look for the friendliest judge for your particular case, whether you're the prosecutor or the attorney. And in this case, we've got DA shopping, and the shopping seems to have been done by the Biden White House, who apparently has been in cahoots with this DA in Fulton County, coordinating how they're going to go after Joe Biden's political rival. Holy crap, that's happening in this country, Bill. And the thing is, I don't know what the solution is. I don't even know if there is a solution, because this didn't used to be a problem, because we had at least some semblance of care for the health of the republic. You didn't go and do this kind of thing because it was
didn't
bad
smash it to
for the
atoms just
country.
because.
Sure, maybe you'll lose an election and that'll hurt, but there are things more important than what happens every other or every fourth November, and that is the health of the republic. And there used to be some damn concern for that kind of thing, and now that's all out the window. We are at the raid the Treasury point of the decline of this republic, where nothing matters more than the next election, because the next election could be your last chance to suck another $1 trillion or $2 out of the Treasury before the whole thing comes crashing down. And Bill, I'm not sure there's a solution for that. I'm a solution-oriented guy. I want to see the bright side. I want to say, hey, if we can do this one thing or this set of things, we can solve this problem. But other than having this whole mess crash down around our heads so that we can get some stronger, tougher, more moral, more ethical people with some real concern for this country, I'm afraid that's it. That's all I got for you today.
Yep. And Steve, the first time I was aware, it had been going on for quite a while, but the first time I became consciously aware that there were people who were ready to destroy the country in order to get what they wanted right now was when Harry Reid pulled the nuclear option to get a vote that he needed and threw away 150 years of gentleman agreement that made the country run more smoothly and so on. He just threw it away.
And Harry Reid, he's the same guy who said Mitt Romney never paid any taxes, which was a total lie. And after the election, he was called on it, and his response was, "Well, it worked, didn't it?"
Yep. Those kind of people representing free people will take away your freedom. Scott, so here's the issue. You know more about the Constitution than anybody I've ever met, but to me the document is quasi divine. It's just astonishing how much genius is in that document. And every time I see a problem, I think, oh, there's something that the Constitution missed, and then I realize, no, it was the Constitution got it right. It's just we weren't listening, or we were doing the Commerce Clause kind of shenanigans or all the rest of it. But it seems to me that even on a state and local level, that a great deal of genuine harm is being done by prosecutor. What's the term I'm looking for?
Prosecutorial discretion.
Where the prosecutor. Thank you very much. Yes, that this is in fact a problem where if it turns out that you have a prosecutor who is biased one way, he can simply choose not to press criminal charges against people for whom there is voluminous evidence, and likewise can press criminal charges against people who don't have an awful lot of evidence, and basically do what we're seeing now, which is just keep throwing mud in that direction. And it's not like Donald Trump is going to break through this, there's going to be a snap when he cuts the Gordian knot. It's like washing a guy pushing through like water hyacinth or something in a canal. He's just moving all of this crud slowly out of the way. And what do we do about that? It seems to me that prosecutors should not have any discretion about whether or not they want to enforce the law.
Well, actually, they have to, unless we want such a swarming army of prosecutors that we can cover everything that could possibly be prosecuted. The problem here, I don't think, is prosecutorial discretion. And in fact, in most exercises of that discretion, prosecutors are looking for cases they can win. This is the most common complaint across the country, because when you run for district attorney in a local area, you are trying to show people that you're effective. And so a lot of ads for people who are running for attorney general or district attorney or whatever will emphasize how successful they've been at prosecuting criminals. And so basically you don't want to take on a case that you might lose because it'll make you look bad. However, there's another level of complication here when it comes to people who should be motivated strictly by enforcement of the law, who are also tied into political organizations. And so these people who are running for district attorney, for example, have to be linked up pretty closely with local political operations. That means that they know all the other people that are running for office, and sometimes they are receiving funds from the guy who's running from Congress locally or from a PAC that's run by somebody in the area. And so they become beholden to people in their party. Now, to me, this flies in the face of everything you would hope for with, the old justice being blind kind of thing, where, justice is blind except when occasionally she peeks from under the blindfold to make sure that she's not hurting one of her own party. And that, I think, really becomes troublesome. Now, I don't think there's an easy solution to it, because alternatives seem even worse. You say, well, somebody's going to appoint that person. We don't want to elect that person. Or you can't run for office nominally as part of a party. Well, at the founding of the Republic, there weren't really political parties, but it quickly became evident who was in which party. And in a few years, the parties had names and everybody was, it was out in the open at that point. So it is, on the one hand, we as Republicans generally believe, and when I say I'm a Republican, I'm actually not a registered Republican. I don't feel a connection to the Republican Party. I feel a connection to Republican principles. So as a Republican, we say local control is good. In fact, push decisions down as close to the local level as you can. However, when decisions made at the local level can change the face of national events, then that becomes a different issue. If something that Fani Willis does in Fulton County can affect the who sits in the White House,
the course of history,
course of history in a sense, then you have different factors. And indeed, Fani is called as a witness in the attorney's divorce trial. The attorney she hired to assist her, she has said, nothing about the relationship with this attorney that she hired. However, she did say that she hired 3 attorneys. She spoke at I think it was, I don't know if it was Mother Emanuel Church or one of the local AME churches. Anyway, she said she hired 3 people. She paid them all the same. Not entirely true. She actually paid them slightly differently. But anyway, she said, well, look who they go after. They go after the black man. And so she's turning this into a racial thing when it really may be an infidelity thing, which leads to an untrustworthiness thing, which leads to a corruption thing, which leads to other questions that should come up. But I don't know that there's any easy solution to this other than for the people who are pushing these massive waves of prosecution against Donald Trump to realize that not only are they quite likely to fail in court, but they're also, and I'm not saying he didn't do anything wrong. In fact, I believe that Donald Trump did a lot of wrong things that he's being accused of. But they're not likely to succeed in court, and they are likely to gin up support for his presidential candidacy. So they're going to lose on both sides of it and look dirty in the process.
Yeah. I think I got a better handle on what this problem is when you said that a DA who's running for election or re-election doesn't want to take a case that he can't win because if he loses, he'll look bad. But I think in this particular case, this woman knows that if she loses, she looks good. She's looking good one way or another. It doesn't matter whether she wins or not. She's the one who's apparently stopping the Nazi overthrow of all of our principles and all the rest of this garbage that they're throwing out there. So on some level, it seems to me like, and Scott was kind of playing around with this, it seems to me like if you have to go down that far on the judicial system, that local, to find somebody willing to do this, then it seems like on some level they should not have the jurisdiction to have a judgment that affects national politics. It seems to me, and again, it's not just Trump. How many times have we seen legislation or something that Republicans like or conservatives like, and then the Ninth District Court just throws it out, and now we're stuck, and now we have to sit here and wait until this communist who's lives in San Francisco or something decides to allow the country to function again the way it was supposed to. The good news, as you say, is that the more of this they do, the more Donald Trump's numbers go up, because I think it is an example to people who not only not Republicans or not Trump fans. I think it's an example to anybody who's got their eyes open, that if you have to go this far down the branches of the tree to find somebody to bring this level of evidence, then and if you can do this to a former president of the United States who's a billionaire, then what kind of a defense are you going to have? For example, one of the fraud charges in New York, one of the liberal news stations, but I don't mean to be redundant, basically said they brought a guy on who was a real estate dealer in New York, and he was an anti-Trump guy. And they asked him about these charges about fraud because, apparently Trump oversold, what the value of this thing was. And this guy just gets on camera and says, that's real estate. Yeah. If you're making it illegal to oversell what you've got, you have no real estate market. Everybody does it, he said. Of course you have to do it. Of course, when you're trying to sell something, you're going to list all of the benefits and minimize the downside. And when somebody comes out with that kind of common sense statement, it makes you realize that this thing is, in fact, a genuine political witch hunt. It is lawfare against the American people in order to deprive them of their choice of who they want to vote for president. And the fact that it's not working, the fact that the more of this they do, the higher Donald Trump's numbers become, the better I feel about the future of the country. Because many people are looking at this and saying, this isn't about Donald Trump anymore. It's not even about the presidency anymore. It's about whether or not I, as an American citizen, am going to be allowed to make a choice that I want to make based on information that is reasonably accurate. And we know the information's slanted, and now it looks like your ability to make a choice is slanted. And if it turns out that this continues and Trump's numbers keep going up, we might be in for a tectonic shift in the names and addresses of people who are actually employed by the U.S. Federal government and maybe some other places too. And long overdue, I say. For Steve Green and Scott Ott, I'm Bill Whittle. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time on Right Angle.